This is Kelly from What's the Obsession. Thanks for taking time to watch this video. Please click like and subscribe and hit the bell for future notifications. This channel just obtained documents showing that the families of Madison Mogen and Kaylee Goncalves filed tort claims with the following government entities: the Idaho State Police, the State of Idaho, and the City of Moscow, and also the University of Idaho and Washington State University. According to the court documents, these claims were filed on May 3rd and May 11th, 2023. The claims were filed by the Goncalves family attorney, Shannon Gray, and Shannon Gray had to say this about the claims. It's a safeguard to protect the interests of the family, the victims, and really the whole community around, because if something goes wrong or was done improperly, then someone is held accountable for that. So the question is, did the families believe that something may have gone wrong, therefore someone should be held accountable prior to the tragedy or after the tragedy during the course of the investigation? Now, according to the channel legal consultant, the answer could be either, but it's more likely, he feels, that it would be in regards to events that happened prior to the tragedy. Now, the filing of a tort claim is not a lawsuit in and of itself, but it does reserve the right of the parties to file a lawsuit further down the road, as a claim must be made within 6 months of an event where the claimed tort occurred. So what exactly does the filing of these tort claims mean? Well, let's first take a look at what exactly is a tort. In general, a tort is when someone either intentionally or negligently causes injury to another person or another person's property. So when filing a tort claim or suit, it must be proven that 4 elements exist, and they all have to do with the duty or responsibility that a person or an entity has to a person or persons. So those 4 elements are that there is a duty exists, that duty was breached, an injury occurred, and the breach of the duty was the cause of the injury. So let's think about this, y'all. Considering the tort claims are filed against the state of Idaho, the Idaho State Police, the University of Idaho, the City of Moscow, and Washington State University, how is it any of these entities had a duty that was breached, that resulted in injury, and it can be shown that the breach of duty resulted in that injury? Well, the injury is obvious, although there could be other injuries other than the terrible fatalities of the 4 victims of this tragedy. Injury in the legal sense just means an infringement on or deprivation of rights, and it, in this case, of course, could be an actual physical injury. So what was going on in Moscow, Idaho, and around the University of Idaho prior to this tragedy happening? Were things happening that should have caused law enforcement to take action, or that would have accounted for circumstances that made a tragedy similar to the one that occurred foreseeable? Now, this is a question that is very theoretical until you start to look at specific instances. For example, this invasion of this young girl's privacy that happened on March 2nd, 2022 in Moscow, Idaho, right around the corner from 1122 King Road. Now, how could this event, and I'm going to play a couple clips here in a moment, even be relevant to the tort claims filed against the entities that I mentioned? Well, number one, I personally do believe it is possible that Brian Koberger was out on the West Coast in early March of 2022. At the time, he was finishing up a master's degree in an online program, which means he could have been very mobile. And when he's considering moving all the way across country for a doctoral program, which is a massive commitment, he might actually want to go check it out. We know that he was also looking for an internship and for jobs, so he might want to check that out as well, or he might be required to fly or drive across the country for an interview, for an internship position, for a job, or for admission into the doctoral program itself. But even if Kohberger wasn't out on the West Coast at that time, do you think that this incident, given what we can see here, was properly handled? I would like to thank one of my favorite true crime channels, Plunder, for this video. I'm going to be playing a video that I did get off of the channel Plunder, which is always a recommendation of mine on What's the Obsession, and y'all are probably subscribed to Plunder, but if...
This morning, I walked upstairs and my suitcase was inside, but I remembered leaving it in my car.
Copy.
I was asked my roommate that just opened the door. I was like, hey, did you bring my suitcase up? And she's like, yeah, it was in the middle of the road. And I was like, that's weird.
Oh, your suitcase was in the middle of the road?
Yeah, it was back over here, and I had it in the back of my car.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, maybe I forgot and just left it out. And
right.
So then I take it inside, and I open it, and all the stuff that I had, oh, I locked it, I should have my keys. But all the stuff I had up here, all my pay stubs, the stuff I had in the center console, my sunglasses I was literally wearing yesterday were all shoved inside my suitcase, and it was zipped back up. And
so everything that you had in your front seat was now in your suitcase?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a shoe print over here, and then there's my fuse box under my steering wheel is opened. I'll go get my keys. I just left it
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to steal it. Why would you open the fuse box? Hot wire? I don't know. That's odd. Because we've been having those vehicle thefts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's obviously no way you wouldn't pull prints off this anyways.
A few minutes go by in this body cam footage, and this young woman gives them a lot more detail about what happened to her car.
Though, I don't know why they shoved everything in my suitcase.
Can I get my case number? Honestly, I think you're right. I think if I took a wild guess, maybe they were trying to take your car and they were like...
We don't need these clothes.
Copy.
The stuff they put in my suitcase was so random.
No chance someone's playing a prank on you.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't see why anyone I know would ever do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I found my underwear shoved right there.
In the cup holder?
Yeah, and I took it out. But it was in there, and I was like, that's really weird.
And you said nothing's missing of your knowledge?
Not that I can tell.
Okay.
Oh, no, you're good. This side either.
Yeah.
Take one. We'll probably take. I know it's not much, but we could take one more picture of maybe the footprint next to a ruler.
I took it next to my flashlight. So
Okay. Perfect. So this is my card.
Okay.
If you happen to say, "Oh, my pink cell phone case is missing," you can just send me an email and just say, "Hey, this is missing. This is how much it's worth, and this is what it looks like." So here's the case number here. Yeah, I'm sorry that this happened. It's definitely...
It's just freaky.
Yeah, no, it's definitely eerie.
Yeah.
Knowing it's kind of like an invasion of personal privacy. Totally get it. It's happened to me before, and it's definitely not something fun to go through. So, yeah, just tell your roommates, tell people to keep their eye out, lock your guys' cars. I know we tend to forget it. I tend to forget to lock my car. People think, oh, it's Moscow.
Yeah.
They know.
It's safe, but there's always,
I'm just glad I took my TV out.
I don't know, guys. I think this crime was strange. I think it had strange elements. I think it went above and beyond just a typical car break-in due to whoever did this going into her car, getting into all of her personal belongings, opening up her suitcase, putting them in the suitcase, putting the suitcase in the middle of the road, taking her panties, putting them in the cup holder. I mean, I think in my mind, I don't even know from a legal sense, just my response to it is that there's this predatory element to it, and it feels like it's gone much farther than just breaking into somebody's car. I would have liked to have seen a stronger reaction from law enforcement here. Now imagine, what if this was Kohberger? Oh my gosh, right? Wow, there certainly should have been a stronger reaction. I think we could all say in retrospect, and some of you are thinking now, oh, that's just stupid to even say. It's so unlikely that he was out there at that time. And maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. This now is me doing something I don't do a lot on this channel. This is me speculating after giving some thought to why the civil court filings. For those of you thinking, oh, Bryan Kohberger wasn't committing these far more petty crimes than what he did in the Idaho 4 tragedy, or for those of you thinking that he didn't commit that crime, and oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm not sure how you guys can get there, but I respect it. But I'm just in a different spot. There's one story that came from the most recent Dateline that intrigued me, and I found to have some credibility, or at least it rang true to me. Most recent Dateline, Keith Morrison tells us about this story where Bryan Kohberger's neighbor apparently had something funny going on in her apartment. She thought maybe somebody was coming into her apartment when she wasn't there, and she was obviously freaked out. Well, this neighbor apparently befriended Bryan Kohberger, and again, this is all according to Dateline, who offered to install a security camera system in her apartment. According to the Dateline, apparently he did install that security system. And according to Dateline, investigators apparently are saying that Bryan Kohberger was able to see into the woman's apartment because he installed that security camera system through his camera when he was nearby. Now, the commentary from the behavioral profilers, who are former FBI agents on Dateline, they say that this is typical. This is Bryan Kohberger warming up to the ultimate terrible crime that he would eventually commit, which is, of course, to take the lives of the 4 victims of the University of Idaho tragedy. So this leads me to 2 questions, and again, I'm just speculating. If Bryan Kohberger installed a security camera system in this girl's apartment, obviously he knew how to do so. We know that Bryan Kohberger was near 1122 King Road on at least 12 occasions, according to the probable cause affidavit, and on 2 occasions he was close enough to actually connect to the router at 1122 King Road. So is it possible during one of the parties where people were just coming in and out, for example, the party the night before the tragedy occurred had 150 people there? It's possible, as many people have speculated about, that Bryan Kohberger wandered into one of those parties. Could he have installed some kind of security camera system in that house? I mean, guys, it's really easy to do, and security cameras these days could easily fit into a very small place where nobody would detect it was there. The other question I have is if Bryan Kohberger was up to doing things like installing security camera systems in his neighbor's apartments, what else have investigators discovered that he may have been doing? And of all of those things, what do the Goncalves and Madison Mogen's family know about? Do they have reason to suspect that Bryan Kohberger should have been apprehended prior to committing this atrocious crime that took the life of their children, as well as Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle? What is the reason for filing these tort claims against the state of Idaho, the Idaho State Police, Moscow City, the University of Idaho, and Washington State University? There has to be a reason. In fact, according to the Independent, when Washington State University was contacted for comment about this issue, they declined to comment, saying that it is pending litigation. So if it is pending litigation, does that mean that there's an actual suit against Washington State University? Please leave a comment and let us know what you think. We all want to know what you think.